Hey guys, so I'm using a new program to kind of show the notes off to you guys today. All right, classification of living things. So let me start by saying when you guys fill these notes out, if you're typing them on the computer, if you guys could change your font color to red or something other than the color that you have for the notes that I've written. That way I can see what you've written, I can see what was already there. It makes it easier to grade and to see what you guys have done. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go through this. So we're not going to get into in-depth within animals, but we are going to talk overall. Okay, so how are organisms grouped? Okay, so types of cells, ability to make food, number of cells in their body, genetic material, and metabolism. And we're going to talk about each one of these. Okay, so the first one, okay, this would be in your notes, this would be B. Okay. All right, types of cells. 1, prokaryote. The cells lack a nucleus. Okay, so you can see in this bacterium cell, okay, that you've got your chromosomes, your DNA here, free floating in the cytoplasm. Okay, you also have 2, your eukaryotes, which is where the cells have a nucleus. Okay, so if you can see here, this is an animal cell, as you guys know. All right, and it contains a nucleus. It contains this nuclear envelope, the nucleolus. So there is DNA contained in here. So the ability to make food. All right, 1 being autotroph, they make their own food. So like the flower that's right here. Then you've got your heterotroph, they have to consume their food. So that's you, that's me, that's Heimdall, that's Roxy sitting next to me. They have to eat something else. So if you remember, auto meaning self, hetero meaning different. Okay, so D, number of cells.
No, don't you run away from me.
All right, number 1 is unicellular, made of 1 cell. Okay, 2 being multicellular, where it is made of more than 1 cell. Okay, I have this cute little cartoon cell thingy there. Okay, so this is just a little overview of what we're talking about here. Okay, so we're going to go into these 6 different groups. So eubacteria, bacteria, it's EU, you've seen it before when we talk about eukaryotic cells. EU meaning true, so it's the true bacteria. So these are like the things that cause diseases. Then we go into something called archaea. You'll see it used interchangeably, archaea bacteria. So archaea, think archaeology, think ancient or old. So old bacteria. And then we go into eukarya, okay? And eukarya is all the things that have a nucleus in their cell. So if it's got a nucleus in its cell, it's going to belong to these groups in here. So this blue box right here. So it's a eukaryotic cell. Okay, so that's kind of easy to remember what that stands for. Okay, so protista, we've kind of talked a little bit about protists before. This is kind of where your algae falls in from some of our last units. Okay, plantae, so plants, fungi are funguses, animalia, animals. So this is where we lie. Okay, sorry, for some reason, if I click for the next slide, the screen capture kind of gets turned off. All right, so archaea, meaning ancient. Okay, so this is actually a little group of them. So each one of these is going to be one organism, so it's unicellular. Okay, they are prokaryotes, autotrophs, and heterotrophs. So this has to do a little bit with 5. So you're gonna find these guys in like the hot springs in Yellowstone National Park. These are the ones that can withstand really, really, really hot temperatures, ones that would kill us. They can survive in those extreme conditions. You might find some of these guys near the vents. There's sulfuric vents in the bottom of the ocean. So when they say autotrophs, they don't always mean that they're using the sun's energy or the sun in order to undergo photosynthesis. So some of these organisms actually undergo something called chemosynthesis, which is that they use chemicals in order to produce their food. Right? And then they're also heterotrophs, so they do eat other things. Okay, so once again, unicellular, and they reproduce asexually. They actually do this through fission. Okay, that's on the next page. Okay. So these are our bacteria, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Prokaryotes knows no true nucleus. Okay. Autotrophs and heterotrophs, we do have this other group in there, the cyanobacteria. It's kind of like this greenish bluish color, so it actually can photosynthesize. They're all single cell. They have various shapes. There's spheres, rods, spirals. Okay. In your archaea notes, I guess I left this off when I made it. Asexual reproduction. Binary fission is also what it is for your archaea bacteria. So they fission, meaning to pull apart. Okay, so they pull, there's 2 of them at the end of it. Okay. Budding, where they kind of grow like a little like buddy attached to it, and at some point it gets big and then kind of splits off. Strawberries kind of do that too. They kind of connect their roots, and their roots will touch somewhere else, and then that's where another strawberry plant will be. Now, the other issue with these guys, and this kind of has to do with 5, is that they can make spores. So say if you're trying to put the bacteria in an unfavorable environmental condition, so like you're trying to heat it up or freeze it so that it kills the bacteria, well, you can risk having spores created, and so the spores kind of it's like a way it like hibernates, it kind of can go dormant, and those spores tend to be a lot hardier than the actual bacteria themselves are. So those are made in unfavorable environmental conditions. Okay, and many of these are pathogenic, meaning that they can cause disease. Okay, so eukarya, this is just the overview. These aren't actually in your notes, but I do want to, it's basically the same for almost all of our eukarya group. Okay, so the first one is the protists. I've mentioned them before in class, but here we are going more in depth, and so these are some images of what some possible protists are. So we've got eukaryotes. Okay, they are unicellular and they are multicellular, and they are autotrophs and heterotrophs. So I'll give you a few seconds to copy those down. Okay, so eukaryotes, fungi, I'm sorry, these are eukaryotes that have a cell wall. So it's basically more of like an animal cell, but you're going to add a cell wall in there. All right, so they're not quite plants, but they're on their way to becoming animal cells, if you guys noticed from a few slides before with that tree. So these guys, most of them are multicellular, but there are a few that are unicellular. They don't tend to live, most of them don't tend to live on their own in terms of unicellular, but in something called colonies. So there's quite a few of them put together. They actually did find a colony of fungus once where they were connected over the course of about 2 miles. So they actually tested along in the soil for this particular fungus and found that it stretched for 2 miles. All right. Obviously under the ground. So these right here are actually its reproductive structures. They create spores, and the spores are underneath and they get released in the wind. Okay. They're also heterotrophs, so they're decomposers primarily. I didn't mean to go forward there. So they are decomposers. Whoopsies. All right. These guys are the number 2 decomposers. If you guys remember, bacteria is our number 1. So the next one is plantae, or plants. Okay, eukaryotes, they are multicellular. They are autotrophs. Okay, so they have a nucleus, a membrane-bound nucleus. And finally, last but not least, we have our animal. Okay, so eukaryotes, multicellular, and heterotrophs. Okay, so these guys also have a nucleus in the cell. They are multicellular, so we are made of more than one cell. Okay, and we are heterotrophs, so we have to consume other organisms. Okay, we cannot undergo chemosynthesis, we can't undergo photosynthesis. Okay, so that's going to be the last slide there. So please make sure that you type up if you're typing them, that you type it in a different color, preferably something that stands out like red. All right, and then you can just submit them back to me. All right,